Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome back to Elevate. We're starting season 2 this year, again on Ramadan, and I hope everyone is having a great Ramadan. And I hope this Ramadan is blessed for everyone and everyone finds success and finds fasting easy. So, let's get started. Today, to be me, your host Hussam Mahmoudi, with Rahman Shadid as the guest. Rahman, say hi.
Hi, hello.
All right. So, let's get started. If your business grew in 2025, but your profit margin stayed flat, you don't have a growth problem, you have a strategy leak. Most founders are running 100 miles an hour just to stay in the same place because they're chasing volume instead of intent. They are renting their traffic instead of owning their authority. Tonight, for the season 2 premiere of Elevate, we're breaking down the 2026 revenue roadmap with Rahman, looking at the internal mechanics of where you're leaving six figures on the table. If you're ready to stop doing marketing and start engineering growth, this is your reset. Let's get into the roadmap. First, Abdurrahman, how are you doing today? I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. I'm glad to be here. It's an exciting opportunity to relive Elevate once more. I think that season two will bring a lot of great insights, actually, including some insights into the business realm rather than focusing on purely marketing.
Speaking of this season, last season, we talked more about tools. This season, we're talking about business outcomes.
Oh,
We're trying to change up Elevate this season and inshallah make it better and more strategic for everyone.
very well.
Okay. Okay, Abdurrahman, you've seen the back ends of companies scaling from 10K to 100K a month. Why is generic marketing the fastest way to burn a CEO's budget in 2026?
Okay, I mean, it's kind of simple, Sam. You see, generic marketing is a commodity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And commodities are expensive to maintain. So you see, in 2026, the noise in the digital space has reached a breaking point. So if you're constantly pushing generic content, you're essentially paying a tax to the platforms just to be seen. So over the last year, from my experience of working with different types of businesses, most CEOs that I audited were treating marketing as an isolated department, a vending machine, if you will, where you put dollars in and hope for leads. But that's looking at it as if you're gambling with your leads. However, marketing and growth in general isn't a gamble, it's an architecture. It's a fixed plan that you follow without guessing, right? So when you scale a broken roadmap, you aren't just growing, you're also accelerating your losses. You're making the leaks bigger, right? As I've mentioned multiple and many times actually, that marketing operates as a catalyst. It's independent regardless of what your product is, what your business is. If your business is good or bad, marketing accelerates that regardless. So if it's bad, it accelerates how bad it is. And if it's good, it accelerates how good it is. Marketing is always going to be an independent department from businesses because marketing's job isn't to sell, it's to generate leads and put you on the spotlight. So once you are on that spotlight, what remains is your game, right? It's your game plan, it's your ballpark, not the marketing departments, because marketing essentially did its job. It accelerated whether your product is good or bad. It cannot guarantee sales or results in that case. So in 2026, if your data don't dictate your execution, your budget is just a donation to Meta's bottom line.
Okay. Could I ask, what's your idea? What's an example of generic marketing?
I mean, generic marketing nowadays is practically speaking, the daily normal trend chasing marketing. Now,
Mm-hmm.
keep in mind, chasing trends is good to a certain degree if you know what you are doing. However, on a bigger scale, just chasing trends for the hopes of, for an example, or for fame or for growth, that's placing your eggs in one basket. Generic marketing, this is just one example of generic marketing. Other types of generic marketing is like, for an example, I look at someone and what's worked out for them. Like, oh, yeah, we're doing social media ads or meta ads. And then we come back to the square zero or the same point that, okay, it might have worked out for them, but it doesn't work out for you. Generic marketing in general is revolving around outdated mechanisms or outdated tactics into the marketing field, where it's basically just doing marketing without a plan, without a strategy, without a clue of what needs to be done next.
So basically, just marketing for the sake of marketing without any sort of data behind it or any sort of strategy that leads to something greater.
Arguably speaking, yeah, because unfortunately we live in a world where strategies aren't valued as much as they should be, at least in common society, because strategy in itself is the key aspect. It's the key to unlocking effective marketing. Because if we were to just market randomly without any cause or reason, then yeah, we're not going anywhere with this. So you kind of need the strategy. Think of it as two-piece puzzles coming together. The marketing requires strategy. The sooner we put value on strategy, the more effective our marketing will be.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, strategy is what leads to greatness, and without having a plan, you can't actually hope to achieve much. Okay, so we're going to be doing a deep dive into SEO later this month. But for the CEOs that are listening right now, why is search an asset on your balance sheet while social is just often an expense?
I mean, I like this question actually. It's a really good question. So here's the thing about SEO or search engine optimization in general. A lot of people mistake SEO for generic marketing or common marketing. They misunderstand what SEO actually stands for. I know that there will be another episode later on regarding SEO where we'll go into this in depth, but for the CEOs who are willing to understand what is the difference between them, you have to look at it this way, for an example. So basically, social media is a party you're invited to, while search is a house you own. So, for an example, if Mark Zuckerberg changes the algorithm tomorrow, your rented audience disappears. But search is built on intent. When someone goes to Google, they're actively looking for a solution. They're pulling information rather than you pushing an ad. So, by building search authority, you are creating a digital asset that shows up on your balance sheet because it generates value 24/7 without a daily ad spend. Right? So, practically speaking, and this is one of the things that a lot of people get confused between social media marketing and SEO. Social media marketing is very effective if you want short-term growth. But if you want a permanent asset that you own, then Google is your playground. Owning your own domain authority, owning the reputation behind your website, ranking against giants such as Amazon, Apple, and other big tech companies such as Nvidia. Now that's where you actually build your value, right? But social media marketing in general, again, we're not belittling social media marketing here, but social media marketing is temporary while SEO is permanent. It's a permanent asset that you own. Even if you step back from SEO and come back again after 3-4 months, you technically haven't lost much, right? Because you already got this ship sailing. However, on social media marketing, if you take a break for a month or two, then you might need to reconstruct the strategy.
Okay, well, if it's about owned versus rented attention, if your leads stop when your ad budget stops, you don't own a business, you're renting a customer base. Search intent is the only way to build long-term equity.
Yeah, practically speaking, yes, because you own the search intent, but you don't own the psychological consumer base that you have on meta ads.
Mhm. Okay.
All right. So, what do we have next? Apologies, I couldn't hear you there, Mr. Sam.
Yeah, sorry there. I had a technical issue. My
All
bad.
right.
Yeah. So moving on. How does positioning protect a founder from the commodity trap, where they are forced to compete on price?
I mean, that's a really good question, frankly speaking. And the solution is very simple. You see, in a realm where marketing in itself is very saturated, and most of the fields that you're going to enter to are very saturated, it's simple and straightforward. So, for an example, if a client asks why are you more expensive than the other guy, and you don't have a pre-baked answer in your content, you've already lost. Brand resonance isn't about a pretty logo, it's about category authority. You want to position the founder so that the price becomes irrelevant because the perceived risk of hiring anyone else is too high. You don't compete on price when you're the only one providing the specific outcome the client craves. There is a rule in sales where we don't sell the price, we sell the value. So it's a trade of value here, right? It's a trade of values. For an example, in a simple case of anything in this planet, every kind of relationship that you make, anything that you want to do, revolves around a transaction. What does that mean? A transaction, simply put, is, for an example, let's say that you want to go to a hospital, for an example. It's also a transaction, despite it being a noble one. You are tired and sick. The value that you are looking for is the cure or the medication. On the other hand, the hospital is looking for the money to fund these medications and to fund the doctor's times and the rent and so on. So it's always a trade of transaction. Simply put, right, what would you do in a case of where you are stuck in the illusion of choice, where you have to pick something? What would you go for?
I would go for the best option there. The best option is available to me. I would go for it.
What is the best option?
I mean, something that's going to give me the most for what I'm going to be spending, and give is going to lead me to the desired outcome that I want.
All right. So in this case, you're no longer looking at the amount,
Yeah.
right? Because price doesn't matter in general. Price in general doesn't matter because as long as I'm selling the value, the customer won't look at the price. This is the thing. Because the moment I begin trading value instead of price is the moment I get perceived based on the value I deliver rather than the price I set out for the consumer to see.
Yeah, true. I mean, here in Istanbul, I've been dealing with this issue a lot, especially whenever I come to ordering. Nothing seems to be giving me the value that I want for the money I'm going to be spending, which is creating a large issue here.
Exactly, that's the thing. So, for an example, in my case, I don't mind paying $1,000 for something that does derive the value to me. It's basically an investment. You're looking at it as an investment. Anything in this world for your business specifically is viewed as an investment. All business owners should know that when I do something, I look at it from the perspective of an investment. Is this an investment that's worth it or not? Simply put, is it a risk worth taking or not? That's how we deal in value when it comes to the businesses.
So people, whenever business is going to be business, whenever they're going to be putting out a product or a service, they should be looking at how they're focusing on how they're going to be helping out the potential client, and not just on trying to make it the most value for money, but trying to show how they're going to benefit through buying their product or service.
Exactly. Really easily put, yes, indeed.
Okay. Most founders think they need more leads. You argue they need better alignment. Explain the pre-qualification engine.
The pre-qualification engine. Okay. So, to put it lightly and simply, marketing's job isn't to get someone on the phone, it's to ensure that by the time they hit the book a call button, they are 80% sold. We use a pre-qualification engine, or at least at Marketer, we use a pre-qualification engine. Content and friction points that filter out the tire kickers. If your sales team is spending 40 minutes explaining who you are, your marketing kind of failed. The marketing should make the sales call a formality, a final vibe check, not an uphill battle. So simply put, the marketing's job is to ensure that the quality of leads you receive are high. And then this kicks the ball into the salesman ball yard. Yeah. So in the ball's court of the salesman, their job is simple and straightforward. It's to close the deal or to do a final qualification before they close the deal. However, if you have to spend too much time introducing yourself and who you are, then the marketing in itself kind of failed if we have to constantly introduce who we are and what do we offer. Obviously, sometimes we do have to introduce ourselves because the customer is asking questions. So in this case, we have to. But if this is the case for every single lead that pulls through, then the marketing in itself has something wrong with it. It's either the targeting is bad, perhaps some issues lie within the segmentation. Many errors can appear. But regardless of it, the marketing is there to make the salesman job easier and simpler rather than make it, harder, right? For an example, if you're the salesman and I'm the marketer, my job is to get you clean leads. Once I get those clean leads, now it's your turn. It's your game plan. What are you going to do? Right?
It's up to me to close the door here.
Exactly. So it's either you close it as a salesman or you fail the sale as a salesman.
Yeah, that's true. So basically, marketing is the catalyst that enables sales, basically.
Yes, as I've always said it.
Okay. So, we've defined the roadmap, but for the executives listening, you likely see the gap in your own execution. You don't have the team or the time to rebuild the architecture yourself. Because it's Ramadan, we have opened 5 slots this week for a strategic clarity session. It's a 15-minute diagnostic with our team to find your specific strategy. Our moderator is dropping the link in the chat now. If you want a clear path for Q2, that link is where it starts. So keep an eye out for it. The moderator should be dropping it anytime now. Okay. Let's redline a real scenario here, all right?
Very well.
We have a founder in the B2B service space. They have a 10% conversion rate from lead to call, but their SEO traffic is 0. And they are spending $5,000 a month on meta ads that aren't converting C-suite clients. Rahman, what's the first thing you change on this roadmap?
Well, the first and most important thing we need to do here is we have to stop the bleed immediately, because we are using discovery ads for a consideration product. C-suite executives rarely buy high-ticket B2B services because of a Facebook scroll. The fix is simple and straightforward. I'd take that $5,000 and reallocate 60% of it into high-intent search and retargeting authority. We need to capture the people already searching for the problem they have. Then we fix the brand positioning. Because if the ads aren't converting, it's because there is a trust gap between the ad click and the website. We need to bridge that with case studies and search-first content that proves you've done this before. In a simple manner speaking, you can toss as much amount as you want on meta ads. If your main issue relies in trust, SEO builds trust. Social media marketing does not build trust.
So basically, we try to fix their funnel or change their funnel completely, because the funnel that they've picked is not the best funnel for them in order to get the customers that they are looking for.
Yes, indeed. That's how it's supposed to be in a high-stake business.
Okay. Well, okay. Another profile. A specialized e-commerce or higher-end retail brand in the UAE. The problem that they're currently facing, they are doing $70,000 a month in revenue, but $25,000 of that goes straight back into Meta and Google Ads. Their organic traffic is less than 5%. How do you go about fixing that?
I like this scenario. You see, in this case, you're not owning a business, you're rather a high-stakes gambler for Mr. Mark Zuckerberg. Because if you turn off the ads tomorrow, your revenue is going to drop to 0. Your strategy leak is a total lack of own search authority. Basically, you are paying for attention when you should be investing in intent. See, these types of decisions, these types of circumstances require you to use strategic thinking.
Italian food.
I need to know where do I spend my budget, at what time, and what for. And this all can be done through the data available to us through the circumstances that we have. So simply put, or easily put actually, is that let's take for an instance that my data for this specific e-commerce store is telling me that my organic traffic is less than 5%. Is social media marketing actually going to fix that or not?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah, in your personal opinion. Do you think it would or wouldn't?
Repeat the question. I didn't focus on it properly.
So we have, in this specific case, the e-commerce store that we have here in the UAE, or the problem that you've presented me with.
Mm-hmm.
So if the organic traffic is less than 5%, is social media marketing actually going to fix that?
Not social media could fix it. Social media is a way in order to help you build organic traffic. The more you get on social media, the more your page is going to get pushed out there.
Yeah, but you're doing social media marketing paid ads. There is nothing organic about it.
True. Yeah. Then in that case, then it won't really help in that situation.
So we revert back to the most important pillar of marketing, which is SEO. SEO drives organic. People who are looking for you, people who aren't looking for you, they'd find you anyways. Unlike social media ads. Social media ads, you need to invest an amount with proper targeting, proper segmentation, and you are practically not targeting organic reach. Unlike in SEO, even with a budget, you can target organic reach. Because SEO in itself is organic. Without the addition of Google Ads, it's organic regardless.
Okay. So SEO mainly targets organic reach.
Of course it does.
Okay. But doesn't SEO also cost a lot of money in order for it to help you grow, just like paid ads?
Whether it does or it doesn't, if you want to make a comparison of price, you need to look at the value perceived.
True.
Social media marketing helps you out temporarily. However, the social media marketing, while it helps you out temporarily, SEO helps you out long term. Again, the simple difference between the two of them is all types of marketing enables each other. You're not picking a what over what, you're picking a what and what.
Mm-hmm.
You're not here making a comparison between the two because you need the 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. Marketing is a full foundational stack. You need all of the marketing services to have a functional, complete marketing strategy. But when it comes down to the simple point of this or that, you need to look at the value perceived behind it. Social media marketing is temporary. It's a temporary boost. SEO is a long-term foundation building, simply put as that.
Mm-hmm. So SEO is what can help you build the foundation in order for you to always be growing. But social media is what is more paid and more short-term.
Yes, again, SEO is also paid. This is the thing. Both of them require a budget.
Yeah,
the difference between the two of them is you can't get anything in marketing for free. Because marketing in itself requires a budget in order to establish assessment. So for an example, if your cases requires, if I already have the reputation, I don't need SEO. So now I'm going to push for social media marketing and other types of marketing, perhaps brand growth or maybe brand building, somewhere in that realm. However, if I don't have a reputation to begin with, social media marketing isn't really going to push much here, right? It's not going to push much here because the leads itself, they're not going to come qualified. Because again, you do not have the reputation to back it. You don't have the value to back social media marketing. So in a case of when I have to choose SEO and social media marketing, it all depends on the sector that you are in. So for example, if you're an e-commerce store, again, even in e-commerce, it's a saturated market. It depends on what niche you're selling. So even in that case, specifically for e-commerce stores, or let's take it at a simpler case. Let's take it between product and service. Service providers always definitely most likely are going to require SEO 9 times out of 10 cases, because service providers, or let's say for an example, marketing agencies, all of these marketing agencies are going to require SEO to build reputation and authority. Now, SEO on itself doesn't mean ranking higher on Google. It's also establishing authority through different case studies. It's proving that you've done this before. Social media marketing, on the other hand, it's a direct driving traffic, right? It's a traffic factor into your product or into your service. Now, if you don't have the reputation, you don't have the trust built already there, social media marketing isn't going to achieve much. Yeah, you will get the leads, but these leads aren't qualified to begin with. However, if you do have the reputation, you do have the trust, leads are going to start generating on their own without the need for social media marketing to begin with. Easiest case example of this is you can take a look at Apple. Apple is one of the many cases that I always bring up when it comes to marketing because Apple is a marketing genius. They understand marketing better than anyone else. You will rarely see an ad for Apple except when they release a new product. However, if you type phones, if you type anything related to technology, Apple is going to appear first on Google. Why? Because they've already done the foundational building. They already made sure SEO works. So they don't need that much social media marketing. You can go to Apple's Instagram and you will rarely find an ad there. They only put out ads or they make an ad campaign when it comes to, for example, the next iPhone or the newest product that they put out. But on normal average day, you're not going to see an Apple ad. How many times a year do you see an Apple ad?
Probably the only Apple ads I see are from people around me. Everyone's promoting Apple on their own these days.
Exactly.
Marketing team.
That's the thing. Apple has already built its reputation through its foundational phases of SEO. They don't need social media marketing. They just push traffic into their latest product. That's it. Simply put, this is the biggest difference. Apple focused on SEO and reputation building. Apple is now associated with luxury and premium solutions. When you look at an iPhone, you look at something premium, right? And when you look at a Samsung, for an example, you look at something efficient, something that is easy to use, something that is flexible, unlike Apple's iPhones. Now, Apple's iPhones aren't that flexible, frankly speaking, but they are still tied to premium. The difference between Samsung and Apple is whenever Apple releases a new iPhone, you're going to see half the country lining up on their Apple store. But when Samsung releases a new phone, you're not going to see that long of a line.
Not really, no.
Again, this is not a diss to Samsung themselves, keep in mind, because it's the way Apple built its brand. And it's always a brand that needs to be studied because Apple did marketing the right way. They did marketing the very right way and the very smart way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. True to this. At this point, Apple no longer needs a marketing team except when they are releasing new product, as you said. And even though Samsung probably produces the better phones, people still gravitate towards Apple due to nostalgia or just because of how easy it is or the prestige that comes with it. Okay, let's start going to the second scenario here. A B2B business, B2B service provider, okay, consultancy, real estate, or tech agency. The problem that they are facing, they have an incredible portfolio and high tier clients, but they rely 100% on referrals. Their website is just a digital business card with zero traffic. They can't break the $1 million a year ceiling because the pipeline is inconsistent.
All right. So here they run into a simple case of being kept hidden or being kept a secret. This is the simplest case of it. In this case, you are basically the best kept secret in your industry, and that is a liability because the leak lies within brand resonance. You see, high ticket clients are Googling your solution before they even ask for a referral. So if you aren't there to pre-sell or to pre-sell them through authority content and SEO, you're losing the lead before the final call even happens. So simply put, when a service or when a service provider like real estate, for an example, relies heavily on referrals, it becomes an issue of external trust. Because internally, they have referrals, right? They have the trust. But externally, they're not generating any leads. So someone that's outside of the known circle isn't really going to come to this real estate agency because there is no trust. There is nothing that differentiates them from other agencies. And keep in mind, real estate agencies, majority of them are a scam, because everyone wants to get into that field because of how easy it is to impact in that field. Again, it's practically a classic case of simple money, right? Simple, easy, quick cash. But as long as we view it as simple, quick cash, it becomes an issue of trust. Why would I go to this agency if I know this field is a scam, right? This is where real estate marketing comes in. Real estate marketing in itself is an enabler. It's a provider, and it's a very crucial investment for real estate agencies for them to stand out. In the UAE specifically, we have to look at the currency that they deal with, which is the currency of trust. You see, the UAE has a very high purchasing power, among the strongest purchasing powers in the world. So money is rarely an issue there, especially for speaking about the real estate market. Money is rarely an issue. Anyone who wants to purchase a real estate definitely has the money, right? Either they have the full amount or they have an enough amount to put down a deposit or a down payment. So money is rarely the issue there. It becomes an issue of trust. Why would I trust this real estate agency? Why would I trust this project? This is where real estate marketing comes in. That's where you build your trust through whether it's SEO or social media marketing or any type of marketing campaign revolving around trust. This is what we call in marketing the MOFO phase, or the middle of the phase. It's where we build trust among our interested consumers by, simply put, we introduce the concept of trust. So when we look at the concept of trust in general, we have to always remember and understand one crucial aspect, which is in a heavy saturated market like the real estate market in the UAE, why would I pick the middle real estate agency A over real estate agency B? Among our, simply put, it becomes a matter of trust, trading in the currency of the UAE. Now, others will tell you that the currency of the UAE is the dirham, but the actual currency of the UAE is trust. It's not the dirham. Because money comes and goes in the UAE. It's a very open, fleeting economy. So, simply put, it's a matter of trading in the currency of the consumer. So as long as you're being kept a secret in that industry, it's a liability. As long as I'm constantly depending on referrals, others will tell you that the currency, and I cannot generate my own leads, or I'm basically now a prisoner to those referrers. Because what happens if they don't refer? That's where the issue becomes.
The entire funnel breaks down if there are no referrals. And not only that, they run into the issue of losing out on the growing market, because especially in the UAE market, yes, people say it is saturated and it has reached a big peak, but there's still an opportunity to grow. You'll miss out on a lot of new customers that might have higher buying power than the current customer base that you have right now, especially with how they're promoting people coming out from outside the country and buying in the UAE itself.
That and so many other examples can be given. But if I built my entire business model around referrals, then it becomes an issue of, if the referral stops, then my leak or my bleeding leak becomes too big for me to contain. So a bleeding leak originally exists as long as I'm depending on referrals. But the moment the referral breaks is the moment my bleeding leak is just uncontrollable at that point.
Especially with how referrals work, the second one of your customers have a bad experience at that point, you won't really have an opportunity to fix that. The entire system will break down.
Yeah, that and you're trading with internal trust as well. If you deliver a bad real estate to one of those referrals, you have effectively damaged your pipeline, because now the trust becomes an issue. So as the moment one of my referrals has a bad experience, because again, you cannot maintain 100% positive experience with all of your customers. You're bound to screw up at some point, right? Because mistakes happen.
Yeah,
it could be, regardless of whether we're all human or not, no one can guarantee 100% effective strategy or 100% effective system where all of my leads that are generated, they're coming in, they're all going to be converted. That's how it works. No amount of mathematical formulas that you can use, no amount of statistics you can use can guarantee that. But what can be guaranteed is a high amount of these referrals will be guaranteed. That can be guaranteed, yes, simply put. Because you cannot control everybody, but you can control those who are interested. Simply put.
It's trust.
So
it's
the
not-
moment one of them gets a bad
Because
product,
money
that's
comes and goes
effectively
in
a
the UAE. It's
portion of my referrals gone, because that person isn't going to refer anyone. And if they get asked about us, then it becomes an issue of, I had a bad experience with them, they referred me to a bad real estate, and so on and so back and forth. So now I've essentially lost a quarter or a portion of my referring system. So frankly put, if I have 4 referrals or 4 referrers who refer to me clients, one of them got a bad experience, congratulations, I've broken the chain of basically this pyramid scheme I've built of referrals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. And I agree with you also on the point where in the UAE, the currency is mainly trust. Because at that point in that market currently, everyone has high buying power. They're looking for value, and they're looking for a place where they can safely put their money and get what they're actually promised to get. Yeah. At that point, people are looking for the best place in order to put their money, not just the cheapest place in order to put their money, because they don't really care about cheap. They care about the quality of what they get.
It's a very perfectly put.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's move to the third scenario here, okay?
All right.
For this? Okay. A growing brand with a heavy social media presence. The problem that they're currently facing, they have a 50,000 plus follower base and a high engagement. But their sales velocity is slow. They get tire kickers in the DMs, but very few discovery calls for their 5K plus packages.
Okay. It's a simple case of building a fan base. Basically, they're winning at attention but losing at alignment. So they've effectively built a great fan club but no sales engine. So simply put, the solution is to stop chasing viral and start chasing valuable. We have to replace virality with value. In that simple case, which is a very common case, by the way, a lot of people have a lot of followers on Instagram but can barely break the ice with their sales because they've done one aspect of marketing and completely neglected the other. And that is building a foundation. They built a foundation for their brand, but they kind of forgot that the main goal is to get a product or to send said follower base to traffic. Now, obviously, the smallest exception would be influencers. Influencers and content creators are there for building or establishing an entire brand and persona around them. So basically, essentially speaking, the product is themselves. That could be the exception there. But in a normal circumstance where you have a product, but you're not selling and you're popular, this is a simple case of, putting it lightly there, simple case of hype over ROI, where I prioritize my famousness or how viral I am over my return on my investment. So the simple solution to that, actually speaking, is we just need to move the user from an observer to an applicant. And this is easily done with the simplest basic marketing principle, which is the top of the funnel, the middle of the funnel, and the bottom of the funnel. So essentially speaking, they're now stuck at the middle of the funnel and top of the funnel, where they have the hype, they have the virality, they have the famousness that they need. They just don't have a good closer to send these people into a product or into somewhere. They don't have a good call to action. Or maybe it's non-existent at all, right? Maybe they don't have a call to action. So simply put, we need to just revise the marketing strategy, find the right way to move the user from an observer to an applicant for a diagnostic session. Easily put. So in this case of the growing brand, they would probably need to revisit the marketing strategy, reconstruct the tofu, mofu, and bofu phases, the top of the funnel, the middle of the funnel, and the bottom of the funnel, in order to drive the customer through proper marketing channels from interest into educated into buyer, right?
Mhm.
So it's just going back to revise the main or the most common basic concept of marketing.
Who would you say is more at fault in this situation? The marketing team or the sales team?
I don't think it's the issue with sales because they don't really have leads to begin with to sell.
Mhm.
So it's the issue mostly lies in marketing because again they don't have a call to action, i.e., leads aren't being generated to begin with. So we cannot really blame the salesman if he has no one to sell to. Now, obviously, there are very good salesmen who can sell anything to anyone, regardless of where they are. But in a normal circumstance, marketing completes sales. They do not independently exist. Only marketing independently exists. Sales is dependent on marketing. Sales depends on leads being generated. If there are no leads, the salesman cannot sell, regardless of how good the product is, because there is no one to sell it to. So it's a fault that lies within the marketing itself. So in this specific scenario, the salesman has nothing to sell. They have no scenario in which they are able to sell or to conduct a proper discovery call or perhaps a qualification call. They cannot really go through the pipeline if the leads themselves aren't there. There is no pipeline that exists. So yeah, in this specific case, it's mostly the marketing fault. It has nothing to do with sales because there are no leads to sell to.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. What would you say is could be one of the biggest issues that these potential customers aren't being properly converted from the MOFO phase to the BOFO phase?
Well, we have to understand what the BOFO phase is and what the MOFO phase is in order to establish a proper linking. The MOFO phase is the middle of the funnel. It's usually where I educate my consumer base about the brand, whether it's through case studies, through testimonials, through product showcasing, whatever it might be. It's the educational phase. This is where I drag my customers to learn about my product or my service or my company, whatever it might be. And the BOFO phase or the bottom of the funnel phase is the conversion phase. It's where I convert them. I effectively convert them from educated interest into buying customer or buying consumer. The way it would work as in normal circumstances is after they are educated and they know what my company is about, what my services are, what do I do. The next point comes in converting them. This requires a good CTA. This requires a really great understanding of how it would work, how it would go. We need good ads that has a good CTA, a good hook, a good caption that can drive them from being from being interested leads into actual buying customers. The easy way to do that, and the most effective way, frankly, is by putting ads that are targeting the consumer, which again always revolves back to segmentations and understanding the client. Once I understand what my consumer looks like, what my consumer does, what their psychology is, their buying intent, it becomes very easy to construct an advertisement around them.
Okay, would you say the break here is more in the MOFO phase or in the BOFO phase? Because
Uh,
clients aren't being properly converted. So, uh, where would you say the focus should be more on?
I mean, with a high virality, it means that the brand is already popular, i.e., the issue lies within the BOFO phase itself. It's either the BOFO phase is non existent or just bad. So, in that case, the main issue lies in the bottom of the funnel. How am I constructing my ads? Am I actually doing the proper research? Are the ads, or what is it called? Are my ads interesting? Or are my ads targeted properly at my clients or not?
Mhm.
So, in that case, the issue lies within the BOFO phase. It's either non existent or just bad. So, the fix needs to be done there because I'm already famous. I already have the consumer base. I just don't have conversions.
Mhm. Or it might even be from the beginning at the very top that they've targeted wrongly. They might have been famous with the wrong crowd, the crowd that aren't truly interested in what they're selling. They're just positioning themselves wrongly. That could be another issue that's going on here.
That would
Because
be the case in a small circumstance, which is if you are an influencer or a content creator that's moving into a brand or moving into a product, for an example. Easy example of this would be many of the influencers who made meme coins, right, in crypto. This is one of the easiest examples they can give because they generated a fan base or a consumer base of people who are interested in your personality or in your character. So to target that into a brand is not impossible, but very hard. Someone who did this very effectively was Cristiano Ronaldo. Ronaldo did this very effectively. He he himself became a branding icon. Whatever club Ronaldo goes to, he brings in with his fans because Ronaldo built himself around discipline. Same thing with Khabib, right? These athletes, these high athleticism players, boxers, footballers, whatever it might be, they know how to construct their brand properly, and in return, whatever product they might throw out works best. But the best out of them all, I'd argue, was The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, because The Rock originally was charismatic. He was originally very good at what he does, and he is very, very good at driving his customer base because The Rock had a very interesting shift of split of personalities where he was taken as an athlete and then he was taken as a funny guy and then he was taken as a, I guess if you want to say, a nice guy who can in return drive people effectively to his products, because The Rock has many products, mind you, including his tequilas, his gym equipments, and so on. And he effectively converted them properly there. So the case that you're speaking of, where the issue lies in the tofu phase, that only happens when you're a random content creator who misunderstood your position. And that is very common only in the cases of content creators who do not know what they're doing. Like another example would be Markiplier, the YouTuber. If you paid attention, Markiplier is now directing movies and releasing movies.
oh yeah, I did see
From,
that.
from a YouTuber into directing movies. And he's effectively breaking the iceberg there because his movie was top selling movies back last week, I believe, or of the entire month. And he's a YouTuber, keep in mind. So the beauty of it is he put in his skill and he effectively used his brand properly, because this didn't happen out of thin air. Markiplier was over the years released cinematics and series, mind you, that implemented the picture of him being an actor or a director one day, where it can effectively convert his audience, right? So if done right, tofu is never the problem, rarely the problem. If done wrong, you misposition yourself, you misunderstand the positioning, that's where it becomes an issue. And an example of bad positioning would be something, again, besides the meme coiners. A common one would be, for an example, let's take a look at Andrew Tate, for an example. Andrew Tate, while he is a marketing genius, and I still stand by it, regardless of what content he feeds, I'm not in line with his content, but I am in line with the marketing genius behind it, because he effectively introduced his audience to degrading rituals, where he shames you into buying his course. That failed horrendously because he built a consumer base of teenagers. So the issue with that is, while he was a marketing genius when it came to user-generated content, he generated the wrong type of audience for the product he wanted to put out. So if I generate an audience of teenagers and then I put out a course or whatever for $500 to $1,000, I'm not going to have a very high yield. Right? Let's face that. I'm not going to have a very effective yield because, and this is something Andrew Tate himself spoke about, if you saw the video or not. There, he and his brother resorted to a tactic called shaming your audience into buying, which is rarely effective because, again, if you attracted the wrong consumer base to begin with, they're not really gonna buy. Like in Andrew Tate's case, he attracted teenagers who are depressed, and he showed them that, oh yeah, you're meant to be depressed, take that energy somewhere else. Good message overall, but when he introduced his product, which was, I think, the Hustlers Academy, not sure honestly, he sold it for like $500 or $1,000 a month. And then he realized the gap in his marketing is that most of the people he attracted are teenagers. And teenagers, like I as a teenager, the most I could have spent was maybe for a skin at League of Legends or, a cosmetic in Roblox. Spending $500, $1,000 on a course is insane, right?
Yeah.
It's not good targeting at all, actually. So that was the biggest issue Andrew Tate did. And this is an example of tofu being the wrong thing. Again, it's misunderstanding where you are. Tofu usually becomes the problem when you misunderstand the position that you're in. And Andrew Tate is an example of that because, again, Andrew Tate is one of those people who did meme coins as well. And again, he reverted back to the same tactic of shaming his audience into buying these meme coins just so he scams them anyways. So again, it all goes back into understanding the position you are in. How did I position myself in the market? What are the people I'm looking at? Or who are the people that are looking up to me? Based on that, I can introduce a product. If I don't understand it properly, tofu became the issue because I attracted the wrong audience. But then again, you cannot solely blame it on tofu because the issue relies within the research itself. I misunderstood the position I'm in. I did not utilize the consumer base that I have properly. So it doesn't become just solely the issue of attracting the wrong audience. It also becomes an issue of wrong application. And this is the deep pit hole Mr. Andrew Tate fell into, where he attracted teenagers and now he made them misogynistic, and congratulations, they're not buying my course. So he basically built a consumer base that were not ready to receive his academy or his courses or whatever he's selling.
Yeah, I mean, that is an issue that a lot of people do end up facing. They see a certain audience or a demographic that's easy to target. They target them effectively because they are pretty easy in order to attract. And then by the end of it, they sell them something that's not within reason for them to actually be buying, or maybe not even something that they are interested in, which is a case that a lot of people have been falling down, especially a lot of YouTubers, I would say.
I mean, exactly, yeah. I mean, like, that's the easiest case would be like, if I built a brand around my reputation and my expertise in marketing and business and SEO, suddenly I sold lollipops. That does not make sense.
It doesn't.
Because, exactly. So you have to do some logical sense behind your positioning. I need to understand where I am, who did I attract, and how do I convert them. Unleashing the wrong product will usually make a dent in your cash because you misunderstood the position you're in.
Okay, how would you advise someone who does want to do something like this in order to transition properly? Let's say I am as you said, a marketer, a SEO genius, whatnot, and I've built myself to that peak. I want to transition into something else. I have an opportunity to sell something. Let's say, for example, a gaming kit here. I want to start targeting gamers. How would you recommend I transition my brand from a marketer, SEO genius, whatnot, to start targeting gamers?
I mean, simply put, you can look at real life examples. You have to again revert back to the main principle, which is tofu, mofu, bofu. You have to start doing it again to attract the right audience. A real life example of this is Faker, the League of Legends professional. Faker transitioned recently from a League of Legends professional into an athlete, which was a crazy transition at the time, but it worked effectively because he went through the tofu, mofu, bofu phase. Now, obviously, the main thing that boosted Faker was the reward he received from the Prime Minister of South Korea. This has definitely just boosted that transition for him. Not saying that it wouldn't have worked without it, but frankly speaking, that reward in itself from the Prime Minister to Faker basically enabled esports to be an actual athlete sport, right? South Korea stepped their foot into that point. So Faker as well did the same thing. He went through the same tofu, mofu, bofu phase. He attracted the new customers or the new consumers into shifting to the new market or the new perception that he wants to go into. And he educated them on it. And now he has a CTA ready for whatever product he wants to launch, right? This is an example of it. Another example would be Cristiano Ronaldo, for an example. Again, Cristiano Ronaldo is a really great example when it comes to marketing. because Cristiano Ronaldo basically effectively placed himself in a position where he can sell anything at that point, because Ronaldo is probably arguably the most popular figure on the planet. So easy way to do this is to, again, fall back to the same principle: attract new customers, educate them, and then have the CTAs ready and target them properly. And it doesn't matter what shift you want to make, as long as you are executing the marketing properly, any shift is possible. It doesn't matter. You can go from an SEO genius into a game developer. It does not matter. Because again, at the end of the day, marketing is a catalyst. It enables, it accelerates what exists. And it generates new things for what is to become.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, what is one Islamic principle of tijara, commerce, that Western growth hackers constantly overlook?
All right. So, tijara in itself, or commerce in general, that the so-called growth hackers rarely pay attention to, is the concept of barakah, or blessing, through nasiha, or sincerity. In the West, growth hacking is often about the squeeze. How much can we get out of a customer right now? But per Islamic traditions and proper traditions and culture, which can be applied actually in real life, if you provide true value and act with excellence and ihsan, the growth becomes sustainable, right? Because barakah isn't just about the number on the screen, it's about the stability and the ability to appreciate what you have currently, right? This is what barakah, by the natural term of it, means. It's the ability to be able to appreciate what you have, regardless of how insignificant it might be to you. But in normal circumstances, in reality, in standard basis, these are all blessings that we usually overlook, that Allah constantly provides for us, right? So understanding how to apply barakah properly, how to provide value, is the key to stability and the long-term impact of your business. Because if you trick a client into a contract, you might get the revenue, but you lose the barakah. That money vanishes just like that. In 2026, integrity is the ultimate growth hack, because it's the only thing that builds a brand that lasts decades, not just quarters. Look at all of the giant brands that we have currently. They're all built on trust. Amazon, Apple, Samsung, whatever else it might be. They're all built on trust. Now, mind you, they also have other traits and aspects that they pursue, but if you don't really trust a brand, would you buy from it?
No.
Exactly. Same thing applies to NVIDIA. NVIDIA, not just because they're holding a monopoly, but because NVIDIA has shown us what they can provide. So if I were to pick between Intel and NVIDIA, I would definitely go to NVIDIA. It has nothing to do with the hype or the brand. It has to do with the reputation they have. I know, for an example, if I buy, let's say, 10 out of 10 products out of NVIDIA, 10 out of 10 products are going to arrive the way they were advertised. And let's take a look, for an example, at Intel. Again, no shaming to Intel, but Intel's core processors sometimes have malfunctioning, which NVIDIA rarely does, right? Because again, NVIDIA holds a monopoly on that market thanks to their trust, thanks to the reputation they built. So maybe if you take the same 10 products, perhaps 7 out of the 10 would work and 3 would malfunction. And that would create a bad customer experience in general for the consumer. So trust is like the key aspect for you in a customer's journey. And with that, we enable and access what we call barakah, or blessing. So this is the concept that's usually overlooked with growth hackers, because growth hackers, or shady businessmen in general, look at money rather than look at value. So they will trick you into thinking that you're receiving value and they won't receive it. Again, prime example, meme coiners. Anyone who releases a meme coin is usually someone who is looking for quick money, because they know they can pump and dump it off of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Rahman, I want to say, do you have anything else you would like to add for the listeners today?
Honestly speaking, I would say, simply put, in order to start a business properly, there are many things. Obviously, we've spoken about a lot of things today and many concepts that can be applied in real life. But fixing revenue, fixing growth in 2026 revolves about or revolves around you being honest with yourself. Any growth that happens in general, whether it's on a personal level or on a large scale or on a big impact, requires looking into the mirror. Let's take it at a simpler case of improving yourself, for an example. You have to face yourself in that mirror and be as critically honest as possible. Where am I going wrong? Easily put, why am I going wrong? Right? Understanding the root causes of the flaws that you emit is the first key step of improving yourself. And once I understand what my flaws are, solutions start raining. This is the beauty of the brain. The moment I understand and realize that I have a problem, solutions just start randomly popping. Like, for example, if I have an issue in time management, I have an issue with myself, I have a lack of personality, I have a weak personality, I'm not confident, whatever it might be. The first step is always facing that. Let's say, for example, I'm not confident. I look in the mirror, I understand, I comprehend that I'm not confident. And your brain automatically starts providing solutions because the brain was programmed to function this way. Solutions you've never thought of just suddenly start popping up. Creative thinking or problem solving isn't a skill that you pick up, it's a skill you enable. And through time, you enhance it. So the brain, most of the traits of the brain are enabled. They're not earned or they're not unlocked. They're enabled. How do I enable them? I have to put myself in that situation to enable it. And the easiest way to improve yourself or to improve your business revolves around you being honest with yourself. I know that I've done 1, 2, 3, 4 wrong. I've tried 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They did not work. So what do I have on the table? What do I need to do next? And then your brain automatically starts coming up with thoughts and formalities. And you can, I guess, form up bubbles of thoughts and solutions and strategies and so on. So simply put, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to understand your shortcomings and face them. Running away, being scared of facing your own problems is never really the answer because you might ignore them temporarily, but they last permanently. The sooner I face my issues, I understand how weak I am as a person, the sooner I come back stronger.
Mm-hmm. Well, those are some wise words, Mr. Abdurrahman.
Well, wisdom comes with experience, my friend.
Mm-hmm. All right, everybody. First of all, I want to say success in 2026 isn't about just working hard. It's about working with a disciplined roadmap. Inshallah, next week we'll be back on Tuesday with Hilal Masuti to talk about the sales engine and BD discipline. Until then, audit your leaks and Ramadan Kareem. This has been Hussam with our guest, Mr. Abdurrahman Shadid. Thank you everyone for joining. Take care and goodbye.